To just summarize quickly, what are the kinds of situations where modification would apply? The first one could be where the scope of assets in the lease increases. The second example could be where the scope of assets in the lease reduces. The third situation could be the rentals change, the term of the lease changes, that is to say the consideration changes, the terms of the lease change. These are broadly the situations where modification accounting is triggered. Modification accounting is not a practically easy accounting answer, although there is guidance on how to account for it, because it involves a lot of judgment to be exercised, and it involves a fresh set of computations that lessor and lessees would need to make. And that is exactly the reason why in the current situation, if the lessee goes up to the landlord and says, look, my sales are impacted, please reduce my rental, that reduction in rental would trigger a modification accounting for the lessee and the lessor. And that is exactly the kind of hardship that the standard setters did not want preparers to undergo. And that's the reason why this modification, the accounting expedient to not apply the modification accounting was rolled out in July 2020. So to summarize what a modification is, lease modifications, as we said, are extremely common. A lease modification could be a change in the scope of a lease. It could be change in or reduction in the consideration, or it could be change in terms and conditions. They are commonplace. Anyone who has a struggling business, who is struggling in the current scenario, would easily walk up to a lessor and tell the lessor, please change the leases. Please reduce my rental. Please give me a deferral. Please waive my rent. Please waive my rent for 3 months and extend the term by 3 months. All of these are possible. The good thing is the current standard gives guidance on how to account for them. The other thing that one could expect is that any change that results from a renegotiation would also be a modification, which is also an example that we saw. We also spoke that modifications are different from reassessments. The example 5 on our slide was a reassessment. It was an assessment that was made pursuant to a change in the facts and circumstances. The guidance for accounting for remeasurements is that the discount rate does not change. You change the new cash flows that you expect, but discount them back using the original incremental borrowing rate that the lessee had considered, or the rate implicit in the lease that the lessor had considered. Whereas in a modification accounting, you would effectively end up taking the new cash flows and discounting them with the incremental borrowing rate or the rate implicit in the lease as of the date of the modification. So therefore, we will therefore far more appreciate the expedient that has come in. It does not require us to change the discount rates. Importantly, Ind AS 116 is silent on how do you account for a remeasurement or a reassessment of lease liability for lessors. In practice, you go back to what guidance prevails for the lessees, but there is no explicit guidance available for lessors. As we said, to summarize this, a key distinction in the modification accounting is that something should not have been a part of the original lease contract. Let's now quickly summarize what the guidance on